Today we're going to be folding a traditional model known as the inflatable cube or the water bomb. It's called the water bomb because if you filled it with water, you can throw it at a sibling. So it begins with the water bomb base, which makes sense. So I will teach you how to fold the water bomb base first. You're going to begin with the side of paper that you want to be on the outside of your model, facing down. So in this case, I want a green cube, so I'm starting with the white side up. And we're going to do a valley fold both ways. We're going to valley fold both diagonals. When you're doing each of these folds, it's important to be very careful to line up corners and edges like this. You see how you can't see any of the white peeking out. It's important to be very precise. In this model, if you're not super precise, it's okay. It's pretty. This model isn't going to require that as strictly as some more complicated ones will, but it's good to have the practice. Notice how I don't make the sharp crease until I've lined everything up and make sure it fits, and then I'll use the back of my thumbnail, my pointer fingernail to sharpen that crease and really cement it in place. Okay, I'll flip it over so we have the green side up, and now we're going to fold it in half both ways, like this. Get these 2x1 rectangles. So now when it's folded in half, you should see the white side, whereas when we folded the diagonals, you saw the green or the color side of the paper when it was folded in half. Alright, just like that. Now you notice how it's kind of coming up at us like this. What we're going to do is we're going to flip it over so you just see the white side, and you just take one finger, poke it down, and the edges just pop up. It's easier to see when you really do it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this point, this point, this point, and this point together. Those 4 points are going to meet in one spot. So you can, if you want, do that all at once. But for some people, it's a little easier if at first you start by bringing this diagonal crease into play. So this point meets that point, this point meets that point, like this. Now you're going to bring this pair of points to meet that pair of points, like that. So now you can see all 4 points are lined up. Now we'll bring 2 of these flaps together on each side. Bring it down, and if you like, you can just run your fingers over those creases again, make sure they're all good and sharp. So now this shape here is called the water bomb base. It's used, of course, for the model we're folding right now, which is the water bomb, but it's also used for a number of other models in the origami world. So you'll come across it fairly frequently if you continue folding. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this point here and just take one flap, and we're going to fold it up to this top point here at the center of the triangle, the top of the triangle. Fold it up, just like that. And do that on the left side as well, and keep in mind we're only folding up one flap here. There are 2 flaps, we're just folding up one of them. Just like that. So now, in our triangle, you should see this square shape here. What we're going to do now is we're going to envision a line running from this point here to this point here. Okay, so a line going across this diagonal of the square. And we're going to take this corner of the square and fold it to the center of the square. So it's going to be folded along that diagonal we're envisioning to the point where the 2 diagonals of the square intersect. That sounds really complicated, but it just looks like that. so no problem. We do that on the left side as well. And here it's easier. You just fold this point to that point that's already there. Just like that. Alright. Now what we're going to do is we've got these two little flaps up here in the top. We're going to fold each of those down to the center of the square again, the same point we just folded to. We're going to fold like that. There, and like this here. So they're both now going to be there. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 corners that are all meeting at the center of the square that we used to see here, except now of course it's all folded in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take each of these flaps, this whole triangular flap here, fold it over that edge. So this little corner is going to stay tucked inside there. I'll show you what that looks like. It's just going to be like that. Okay, and we're going to do that on the other side as well. Let's take this flap, fold it over like that. Now we're going to unfold both of those. We just need the crease. And then we're going to do that again, except instead of folding it over, we're going to tuck it inside of this pocket. Okay, so we're going to take this flap and fold it over, except instead of going over, it's going to go in. And the easiest way to do that is to actually grab this flap, pull it out like this, tuck it in, and then push it all back together like that. Okay, so that's going to lock it in place. Do the same thing here. I'll try and do that again real slow. Pull this out. Okay, so all I'm doing, I'm grabbing this flap, pulling it outwards a little bit so this gap opens up, and then I'm taking this corner, pushing it into that gap, and then bringing it all back together so it locks in place. This is going to hold our cube together. It's really important. Okay. Now we've got this kind of diamond that's not really a diamond shape here. Alright, we're going to do that whole procedure to get this. We're going to do that all on the back. We're going to do that again with these two flaps. Now while I'm doing this, since I've already explained it, I'm going to give you some water facts about the world water crisis that Paper for Water is working to address. Believe it or not, there's actually 785 million people on the planet who lack access to clean water. Okay, that's about 1 in 9 people. I think a lot of people think that not having access to clean water is more rare than that, but it's 1 in 9. Okay? And even more than that is the number of people who lack access to a clean toilet. That's about 2 billion. So almost 1 in 3 people lacks access to a clean toilet. Now these are the kind of numbers that Paper for Water, through volunteers and help that you can provide, is working to change. It's very important now with coronavirus going around that we work to give people clean water, because that helps with sanitation and helps people not get sick. There we go. So now we've got this shape here. Okay? What we're going to do to turn this into a cube, because it doesn't really look like a cube yet, is we need to blow it. We need to inflate it. Okay? So there's a little hole here. Okay, you'll notice there's two opposite corners here. One of them came from the center of the square. It doesn't have a hole. Okay? The other one does, because it came from the edges of the square. In order to inflate this, you're going to need to blow into this hole. Alright? And so you can just put it to your mouth and blow into it, or some people find it easier to use a straw. So I've got this very festive candy cane straw item, and you're just going to kind of open up this edge. Be careful not to rip the paper. It really likes to rip here if you're not careful, which is why a smaller straw is better. Okay, and you're just going to kind of ease this open. Again, it's kind of tricky. It helps if you kind of open these up like this, but you see how that hole is kind of opening up? Just like this. Okay, and now you have a cube. Yep, it's magic. Okay, if you like to, kind of go around, sharpen the edges here, or you can have a more round cube if you're that kind of person. And then you have a cube. So that is our magnificent origami of the day. And yeah, be sure to donate or volunteer or whatever.